Peymon who?
Mottahedeh.
Peymon Mottahedeh. Who is he?
Never paid taxes in 30 years. Fought the U.S. tax court and won.
See, I believe our rights come from God, not from government. Hello to my truth and freedom-seeking friends. This is Peymon Mottahedeh, president of Freedom Law School, freedomlawschool.org, bringing you a very special guest that you love to hear from. His name is Mike King of realnewsandhistory.com. Okay, realnewsandhistory.com. Also on Rumble, he's at. I want to first bring him out to you and then tell you a little bit more about him and then start the interview. So, Mike, thank you for being with me at Freedom Law School to talk about you and your great books you wrote about real history that were not taught in a public school system.
Well, Peymon, thanks for having me. It's good to finally see you in person. I think you've been a reader of mine almost 10 years now, no?
Yes, close. I think about 7 8 years. Yeah, that's right. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So let me tell you guys about Mike King, guys. Mike is the greatest historian I know in the sense that he doesn't write these big, thick, long books that are made for scholars, PhDs, that very few people ever read. What Mike does a great job at, he takes these thick books and make them not only a lot shorter to the point, but he makes them so easy to understand and also so fun to read with a little bit of a humor, which I kind of enjoy, a little sarcastic humor also on top of that. And his greatest book, his preeminent book, of course, is The Bad War, okay? This book, although it is focused most on World Wars I and II, Bad Wars of World War II, but it goes way back, starts in 1848 with Karl Marx, okay, and takes you all the way even past World War II. So if you want to get one book of Mike King, this is the one you want to get. It's a little bit longer, but you know, if you want to start something shorter, perhaps get a flavor of Mike's great work, I suggest a Bancarrota. It's a really good little book about the money and banking system and gold going back for over 1,000 years. Okay, and one of my favorite books is God versus Darwin, okay? He blows away Darwin in this BS that somehow we came from bacteria and fungus, became flies and fish and lizard birds and to monkeys and a human being. And of course, his preeminent, most complete work is Planet Rothschild. I'm halfway into reading these two books. This is volume 1. And then volume 2, okay? And of course, some of Bad War is in here. It's good repetition to read about it. But he's got many other books. I mean, they've got over 25 specialty books, like about Japan, what happened with them, with World War II. So many other topics about War of the States. I'm reading that book right now about what really the truth is about War of the States between North and the South. So I highly recommend you get his book physically. You get him cheap in the PDF, but I like the book in my hand, okay? And I love the way that his books, you see these are big print and pictures, okay, that verify what Mike talks about. New York Times headlines, other newspapers of the time, cartoons. You see, well, this is readily, much of it immediately verifiable. Of course, he recommends, some keywords on the internet. You can search for yourself on that particular topic to find out, this is the truth. Why? Because we've been lied to, guys. We've been lied to for a very long time through the public school system, the government schools, through this communist Marxist university system, the controlled media. So to de-brainwash us, he provides the search terms for you to go and verify everything that is the truth. So anyhow, without going further, I want you guys to hear from Mike himself. Firstly, Mike, I'd like you to tell us about it. How did you get into this very tedious work? You went to so many different books to read to put the pieces of the puzzle together in a cohesive understandable way. It took a lot of years, I imagine, to get to read all this work, to put it so succinctly together. How did you get started in this whole thing to begin with, Mike?
Well, I've always had an interest in the subject of history ever since I was a little boy. I remember my father used to buy these history books for kids and stuff, and I would just devour them. Just always fascinated with the past, and I always had a sense that, a proper sense that the past is what we build upon, and you really get a better picture of what's going on today. Unfortunately, during my schooling years, much of the history I learned turns out was false. However, that did equip me with a base of understanding to see that it was false. Because I think if you're steeped in the false version of things, then when the truth is presented to you, as long as you're able to let go of those past beliefs, it's just all the more powerful. Because a lie standing on its own can seem rather compelling, but then when the truth comes and you see the contrast. So it really was until, maybe 30, 34 years ago that I started to become exposed to an alternative view of history. And just little by little, just kind of as a hobby, and I've got a really good computer-like memory. Over the years, you begin to accumulate things. And when the internet arrived, late 90s, it opened up a whole new world for me, because not only did I have access to the other side of the story, but I could start doing independent research on my own, like plowing through old newspapers and newsreels. A lot of my stuff is original. Well, I won't say it's original, it's reported in the past, but it's buried and forgotten. And I rediscover it and I weave it together. But I felt there was a need to present history, like you said, in a non-academic way. Some people have called me the people's historian. It's not that my stuff is dumbed down, but you have to understand, not everybody's got the time and inclination to dedicate years of study. All you need to fulfill your duties and obligations as a citizen is just the basics. And that's what I focus on. I try to walk that line of being simple in my presentation, but not simplistic. And so many people appreciate that. Because, you drop a 1,000-page academic book on it, small print, no pictures. Who's going to read it? Who's got time? My stuff reads like videos. So that's what's really unique about it. And why my work, I think, is growing in popularity. Not that there's anything wrong with the heavy academic stuff. Every little detail of history should be recorded somewhere. I do believe that. But let's not forget our purposes. We're trying to save humanity, right? Right. Which entails widespread education for everybody, not just a tiny academic class. And that's my niche, And
how was that you got interested in history besides your father? Because you said about 34 years ago, I started this tax truth freedom movement back in 1992. So it's not like you started about the same time. I'm 63. Okay? Yeah. So you started about the same time as me in the early 1990s, get interested in history. What are some of the first few books that you read that you realized that, I've been lied to about this and that, and I want to dig into stuff a little bit more. What was the first few books that you read that got you going?
Well, I tell you, my first vote that I cast was for George Bush, the elder. Because he had an R next to his name. I figure he's one of the good guys. Okay? And I'm gonna get to your question. I'm just setting a little bit of context to it. Now, I was a conservative, and I used to read conservative publications, columnists, listen to Rush Limbaugh. I knew what Nelson Mandela really was. A communist terrorist monster who was in prison because he was violent. He refused to renounce violence. And when he came to the United States and he got such a hero's welcome, it made me sick. But then I saw George Bush have him over the White House and fawning all over him. And I began thinking to myself, something's not right here. He has an R next to his name. Why is he all chummy with this communist? And it was at that I had an old brochure laying around. Somebody had stuck it on my windshield, and I put it aside. I kind of laughed at it. It was a John Birch Society pamphlet advertising a book called The Shadows of Power, by James Perloff. And say, hey, it's a conspiracy, one world government, all the Republicans, Democrats, no difference. I just put it aside. I kind of scoffed at it. But then when I saw the Mandela thing, I ordered that book. And that was my very first, I called my very first early doses of Red Pill. The Shadows of Power, the Council on Foreign Relations in the American Decline. And I read all about the Council on Foreign Relations, which was established after World War I, and they basically have run U.S. foreign policy ever since, to this day. And then in reading it, and he goes, in chronological order, which is a format that I do with all my books, as you know, he goes through all these events and answered all these questions that I had in my mind. Like, why were we so stupid to hand over Eastern Europe to Stalin? Why did we do that? Boy, Roosevelt was dumb. Well, then you read a book like that, it wasn't stupidity. And all of the treason and all the questions and all of the things that mainstream conservatives have condemned as folly or mistakes or stupidity, they weren't. And he wove it out together. And it was a very powerful experience for me. And it was very, very early in my journey, but it did instantly convince me, yes, there has been a conspiracy to slowly but surely change this country and then merge the whole thing into a one world communistic totalitarian world government, the New World Order. And then from there, it's just, you just keep reading and devouring over a course of years. And then, like I said, when the internet came along, it just turbocharged everything to a whole new level. And then I became not just a student, but also a researcher in my own right. And it culminated with a decision, about 13 years ago, to do this as a full-time endeavor.
Oh, okay.
So as people really started liking some of my early articles and my books, etc. So,
okay.
And I'm still learning.
And what were some of the more major books that you believe that you read that gave you a lot of substance of what you talk about? For example, I know read the book Secrets of the Federal Reserve by Eustace Mullins back in 92. Yeah. That's what got me going to the Federal Reserve. But then everybody told me about the Creature from Jekyll Island by, G. Edward Griffin, which it's so thick. I haven't read the whole thing yet. But the Secrets of the Federal Reserve was much thinner. I finished it back in 92, which is, again, that's why I like your much shorter, big print, easy to read books, versus all the small print books. So, but what do you, with some of the other books that you resourced that gave you a lot of the good fundamental meats that you put in your books, would you say? Would you rely upon?
Well, you mentioned G. Edward Griffin, and I had the same experience as you. I had that book, and I read most of it, but not all of it. It's just, you got work, you got families, you do the best you can.
Yes.
That's why I fill that niche. People read my books cover to cover.
Right.
And they get it. That's the thing.
Yes.
But that's one of them. But even before that, I think even before he published that, I read one that he wrote in the 60s. He's been around a long time, G. Edward Griffin, called The Fearful Master. And the story of the United Nations, what it's really all about. So that might have been the second book. And then there were just so many excellent books offered through the John Birch Society. The Hidden Hand by Ralph Epperson. I got a hold of McCarthyism, The Fight for America by Joe McCarthy himself.
Oh, okay.
And I learned that, Joe McCarthy was not some madman was just destroying people because they were Democrats or liberals. No, his stuff is solid. And that's been confirmed today by the opening of the Russian archives. Joe McCarthy was right. So, there were None Dare Call It Conspiracy by Gary Allen. So many good books, videos too by the John Birch Society. But all of that just served to give me a really solid foundation. But I'm still a student. When I take it to the next level is when the internet comes along, because now I can start looking through original source documents. Everything is on the internet. And pulling out those truth gems and start doing like original stuff. But that's my journey. It's incremental. And what really finally took my last leg of the journey again, when the internet comes out, I begin to discover World War II truth. And I just devoured that. And let me tell you, even for somebody who's been red pilled for 10, 15 years, when you get to that point,
yes,
you'll find a lot of people who are quote unquote conspiracy theorists, yet they still believe the conventional story of World War II.
That's right.
And no, it's a total inversion of reality. Right. And I said, let me read what this Hitler guy has to say. And you start reading his speeches and then matching it up to like what Churchill said. And then you say, you know what? He's telling the truth. And that is a very, very emotional experience.
Yes.
And that's when you've really arrived at the bottom of the proverbial rabbit hole.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I agree, because I had similar experience as you. Read about the Federal Reserve. I heard about John versus Society about the same time. Knew about those guys, met them, and about the New World Order conspiracy. But the more you get deeper to it, you find out, the World War II, World War I, those are the seminal foundation of our belief system today, all based upon lies. So get into that, you see this picture a lot more clearly and deeply, I believe. Yeah. Now, you started also a Rumble channel that you already got, in about 1 year, you got over 22,000 subscribers. That's pretty impressive. I think especially for a history channel. What gave you that idea to start doing videos and putting it out there?
Well, I actually started doing videos years ago. I had a YouTube channel just to kind of expand my reach. And of course, I was starting to grow nicely, and then they killed it. They Holocausted it. So I got kind of discouraged. But I just started doing Rumble again a year ago, because I had been doing some appearances on the shows. And I said, and a lot of people are saying, hey, I see you on this Dave show or Patriot show. Well, why don't you do your own? So I just decided to start doing like shorter videos. It's grown. People, there's like a market of people that like to read. There's another that likes videos. And then there's overlap, of course. So I'm discovering there's a lot of people who just, they're not into reading, but they love hearing my discussions. And so I've got the Rumble channel, Mike King /realnewsandhistory.com. And that's going really well. I'm just wrapping up it's going to be almost a 40-part series. I started it in the early summer of this year, and I'm almost done now. But it's a series of episodes, and they range from 30 to 40 minutes long. They're longer than my other videos. It's called The Rise and Fall of the New World Order Cabal. I don't know if you've been watching them. Yes. But I go sequentially, decade by decade by decade by decade. And again, it's with that simple, no nonsense, concise, right to the point presentation. You're going to get like 300 years of history. See the unmistakable progression of this cabal and how they expanded and got bigger and bigger and bigger. Thankfully, their days are numbered now, or they're done actually. But that's another story. But so that's how I started doing the videos.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, folks. Mike's books are so interesting, and so what it did for me is actually bought me a book stand so I could read Mike's books. They were having lunch or dinner. I got it for my kids also, and I tell you, they're so good. I told my children I'll pay them $100 when they read The Bad War. They got a little bit caught a little too convoluted for them, but so I said, okay, let's switch out. They read Bankrupt already, okay, and the Great Tomato Bubble, a little essay about money that Mike has. But right now, I said let's take a switch to God versus Darwin, a lot easier. And Mike Rosa really believe in God, and we're going to get back to the great, the Bad War, because they're still in school. I got more time to hear with them. But I really encourage you guys to get Mike's books, not just for yourself. Get it for your children and your grandchildren. Start them early. You want to read a book at nighttime, about things for the kids? Oh, guess what? Allegory of Bankrupt is a very fun little book. that kids will appreciate pizza and pasta land or beer and schnitzel. Okay,
it's like a children's story.
Like a children's story, exactly. I really like that children's story aspect that you did about that, Mike. Yeah. So, are you gonna, now that you've done pretty much your video series on Rumble channel, Mike, are you gonna redo them again, or what do you plan to do new on your? You redo them, maybe better quality, perhaps better presentation. Is that what you plan to do with the series again?
Well, right now I'm most focused on finishing up my latest book, which is going to be out in a couple of weeks, and you're going to love it because it deals with the events of 1913, that infamous year.
Okay.
Of Woodrow Wilson's first year as president, the income tax, the Federal Reserve, et cetera. But
right.
I mean, I'm going to talk about the financial aspect of it, of course, but most people already know that, or a lot of people already know that. Right. The main focus is going to be on the historical intrigue that was going on leading up to that moment. It's a really wild story, and much of it has been kind of untold or unappreciated. So it's kind of a different spin.
Okay.
About what led up to that year. That was everything for them. I mean, that was as big as World War II.
Right.
1913. That was, everything is like a foundation.
Right.
So that's really like the foundation. And then I guess you could call World War II the structure, you know, their steel structure on top of the foundation.
Right.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. So, Mike, to get your books, they can go to your website. But you have a newsletter also. Can you tell us about the newsletter, what you do about that?
Oh, there's a number of options. I mean, again, you go to realnewsandhistory.com. Mm-hmm. You'll see Mike King University. There's a books and PDF page. You can get all 34 of my books. If you want them in PDF format, which is most economical for most people, it's a steal, $29. Mm-hmm. Get all that information and knowledge that I put together over decades. Mm-hmm. Okay. But then again, if you like the physical book in hand, you could also order through the website. Mm-hmm. You submit an inquiry form, and then you get an invoice. You pay the invoice. So you can get the PDF package or the books. If you get the PDF package, you're also going to get a newsletter that's almost every day. I call it the Anti-New York Times. So you keep abreast of like world events, because my site isn't just history; it's real news and history. Mm-hmm. And again, this is my other unique niche. I weave the two together because it's so important. Because we came from somewhere. If you don't have the knowledge of the past, it's like you have Alzheimer's. You know, so you'll see so many of my articles. I'm weaving together the past events with the news. So that's very unique as well. But yes, sign up for the newsletter, get the PDF package, the books. I guarantee there's nobody else doing this, quite frankly. I don't like to say I'm the best at what I do because, frankly, I'm the only one doing this that weaves history and news together. But the real skill that I think I bring to the table is to just do it with minimum amount of words. Exactly. So it's profound, but it's simple.
But you don't want to read any more long books. I mean, look, I'm a voracious reader myself. I've always been a voracious reader. And I tell some of my smart people I got, IT people, smart people, so look, you got to make it big print. I'm lazy too. Judges are lazy. Make it big print, some pictures, headlines, bylines. And so otherwise people won't read it. And I really like the fact that you make it so easy. They could practically be almost some of my children's books. I think Bankrupt is practically a children's book where anybody can start with that. So I suggest, guys, if you're not sure what books to read or buy, maybe start with some of the smaller stuff he has on there. The PDFs are free, all of them. If you want to get a book in hand, hey, the small ones are less expensive. Start with maybe Bankrupt about the history of money system in the world in Europe till today. Start with those things, maybe God versus Darwin, and we really want to get going. Really what you want to get, the stake is the bad war. And if you really want to know the steak, the appetizer, the dessert, the whole thing, I think nothing tops Planet Rothschild, 2 volumes from 1776 to today. It really is a very beautiful, development of 30 years of study of history that Mike has done in a very short time. I'll tell you, Mike, I have one of my guys at my office. I give them all a reward to read it. I said, first person gets $500. He finished the Bad War in just a few days. Now, I told him now, part 2 is I want you to go and verify for yourself some of the most controversial, unbelievable things in there, because I don't want him to just read it and say, well, he's wrong, that's not true, that's his opinion.
And
I told him,
holes.
no,
There's no holes
to
in this.
verify it. I told him to verify it for yourself so you know what you read is the truth that you're getting exposed to. Yeah, but I'll tell you guys, folks, Mike's books are so good. His videos are great. I called Mike. I said, I want to be your very first sponsor and proudly support Mike's great work that needs to get out there. I gave this to the Bible class teacher at my kid's school. I said, read this. You know, I think you may want to use it in your Bible class. God versus Darwin. You know, so folks, it's you, your children, your future, you know, that all it's about, really. Because those who don't learn from history are bound to repeat it. And we want to make sure our children, grandchildren, are exposed to these truths at a much earlier stage of their lives. And it's up to our generation, us, to get these books, get it in our hands. Maybe you haven't watched some of Rumble videos of Mike, on Rumble, realnewsandhistory.com, or just with Mike King. He comes up right away on Rumble. Get him exposed to that. And I think you'll be very glad that you did so. Mike, do you have anything else you want to add? Or do you want to give everybody ways they can get a hold of you and your videos and your books, Mike, for people who are interested?
Yeah, it's real simple. The site is very easy to navigate, realnewsandhistory.com. You'll find the link to the Rumble channel. You follow me on Rumble, what happens is every time I do a new video, you get an automatic alert from Rumble. I've also got an Amazon page. Most of my books are on Amazon, but not all of them. My Amazon author page is Mike S. King, so you can also get some of the physical books through there. But you're not going to get the Bad War there, and I'll tell you why. Back in 2017, the book was up there for almost 2 years. It was blowing up on Amazon. It was a different world back then. Because with Amazon back then, if you could generate an initial batch of sales on your own, which I was able to do because I had a following, well, their censors would pick up on that and say, oh, we got a winner here. And they start marketing your book for you. You understand?
Yes.
So, and then more people see it, and then they buy it, and then more people, and it goes up the rankings. It was really wild. At one point, if you put World War II into an Amazon search engine, the Bad War would show up on the first page.
Wow.
Can you believe it?
Wow.
And being the only World War II book with a different spin, because all the other ones are just the conventional nonsense, right?
Right.
It just kept growing and growing. And, the great David Duke got wind of it. And through Jeff Rentz, because I used to post on the Jeff Rentz site, he got in touch with me, asked if I would do an interview with him on his podcast. And I was honored to. And we did the show. And when you know, within a week, I get a notification that the Bad War is being removed from Amazon, blah, 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 hate speech or some nonsense like that. That's right around the time when the ADL finally got Amazon to crack under pressure, because they didn't used to censor, and they were actually resisting the ADL's pressure to remove certain books.
Right.
Right about the time they started to crack, because Trump had just got elected. So people had started saying, how the hell did this happen? It's that damn internet, right? That's when the censorship came, if you recall.
Right.
Amazon, YouTube, all 2017.
That's right.
They didn't see it coming. They didn't see Trump coming. And after the fact, they realized we've got to get a hold of the internet and start censoring it. But really, for a while, it was almost scary at the exponential rate that it was growing. Maybe it was providential because the way it was going, maybe I would have gotten knocked off at some point. I don't know. But that's the story of how the bad war was removed. But you can still get it at realnewsandhistory.com. And right on the menu, you'll see a tab, WW2 books, World War II books. So you can still get it through me. And it's also part of the PDF package.
Right. It just shows everybody what a good writer Mike is, that the book on its own got picked up on the very first page about World War II. This book would be there, and it's still banned on Amazon. That's what they don't want you to read. That's exactly what you should read. Because I come from Iran. One thing I always stood for is free speech. Why in Iran we could not criticize King, the Shah of Iran? You know? Why can't you talk about these things about World War II in America? Oh, you're labeled, and you know, this and that, the other anti-Semite, whatever. I'm like, wait a minute. Let me read for myself. I can eyes to see, ears to hear, and think for myself. And so do you. So I invite you to go to Rumble channel of Mike King, realnewsandhistory.com, and go to his website, realnewsandhistory.com. Become a subscriber, get his newsletter, okay? And consider starting with a book or two for yourself and start reading. And once you start that process, like me, become probably an addict, want to know the real truth, buy yourself a stand to read his books, a lot easier doing lunch or dinner. So, Mike, thank you very much for being with me, my friend, and I wish you continued great success, my friend.
My pleasure. And autographed copy of my upcoming book coming your way. Maybe another 3 weeks.
Very good. Looking forward to it, Mike. Thank you, my friend, for being with me.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.